Hello guys, welcome to another video in this course. In this video we'll be looking into Express middlewares. What are middlewares? Middlewares are functions that serve as interceptors to our requests. So middleware are functions on their own and they have access to the request and response object. So they are able to intercept a request and execute something or add a cleanup or like adding some layer of code or logic before actually releasing it out for our Express server to handle. So you can picture it this way: you make a request to the server, but before it gets handled by the server, a function catches it at the middle or in between and execute some logic to maybe refine the request or allow some things, enable some things, and then passes it on to the route to be able to handle the requests. So that's what middleware functions are in Express. Now they can do perform some tasks. As you can see here, they can execute codes, they can make changes to the request, they can end the request even before it's been handled by the server, and also they can call the next middleware function. So you can have a stack of middleware functions and you can call the next one a stack from a middleware function. So I also want to talk about this making changes to the request and resource object. You are going to see that later in this course where we want to probably need to add um, and allow cross access origin header to requests. So we can use something like a middleware to apply that. So we can use middleware to refine our requests to refine our requests before actually handling them by our server. So an example of a middleware that I used was this tool that I used here, the express.json and the express.url encoded. So middleware, we have the application level middleware, which is actually function that runs on the app itself. We have the router level middleware, which can be called from the express router. Um, we also, okay, let me just, before I move on, I just want to clarify this. So now the application level middleware is a middleware called from the app instance of Express. So when we do Express, app equals Express, when we instantiate Express as app, and that's actually an Express application, and we use a middleware with it. That's an application level middleware. So in our instance here, we're doing app.use. So here we're making use of an application level middleware, but not just an application level middleware, as we're going to see later on in this video. But the way we're using it, or the situation with which you're calling it, makes it work as an application level middleware. Now a router level middleware is a middleware that will call on the router instance of Express. So when we call Express the router, when we instantiate Express and call the router from Express, any middleware we use on the router is a router level middleware. We're not going to deal with that in this video. Then we also have error handling middlewares. So error handling middlewares are also used, application level middlewares that allow us to pass error, that gives us an error object and also allow us to handle errors on our server or from our requests. So we have built-in middlewares, which is one of the middlewares that I'll be using mostly, and we've also used some. As you can see here, we have the express.json and express.url encoded, so which actually passes incoming requests with URL payloads. So for us, so that's what the URL encoded middleware does for us. The express.json passes incoming JSON payload, incoming request with JSON payloads. So that's an example of a built-in middleware in Express, and you recognize built-in middlewares by calling them, or use built-in middlewares by calling them from Express itself. So here we did express.json, express.url encoded, and as you see later on in this video, we also have another middleware that we refer to by express.static. So these are actually built-in middlewares and they come along with Express. Then We also have another type of middleware that are third-party middlewares. So third-party middlewares are middlewares or are packages that are installed externally through npm. So they don't come with Express, they don't come along with Express. You install them. An example is cookie parser. We also have one that's called body parser, but it's deprecated for some reason. So that is why, but we have an alternative for it, like I explained in the previous video. So app.use express.json and express.url encoded are actually built in middlewares that does the function or performs the function of body parser. So we don't have to use that third-party middleware anymore. But cookie parser is an example of another third-party middleware that we can use in our application. As you can see, it's required as a package. So it's been installed via npm and required as a package. And it's also used or consumed as a middleware as a package um, in our Express application. So that is pretty much what we need to know right now about middlewares. We're not going to do or discuss much on that. If you need to read more on middlewares or probably you want to have access to this documentation, I'm going to leave a link to this page or this documentation in the description of this video, or you can just check it out on expressjs.com and their guide, so you should be able to find it here. Now, one other thing about middlewares is we can also create middlewares. Like I said, middlewares are functions that have access to the request and response objects. So as you can see here, let me just scroll back up. Um, so as you can see here in this case, this is a function that takes in the request response and the next callback function, and also performs some things on it and returns the calls on the next the callback function. So you can also create or write middlewares on your own. Might not we might not discuss that or go through that during this course, but you can also check this documentation. There's a guide that shows you how to write middlewares in this documentation, so you can just check it out yourself. It's something easy to do. Like I said, it's just a function that takes in the request response and a next object if possible. So a next function if possible. So that's is that about Express middlewares. So we'll be talking about template engines in the next video. So how we can use template engines to render front-end files to our user from our Express server. So until then, remember to leave a like on this video and also subscribe to this channel if you've not done so. I'll see you in the next video.